Creating change from the grassroots up, we have Laurence Marshbaum, the co-founder and chairman of 10 by 10 Philanthropy. Born in the 80s, born in London, now lives in Sydney and in New York City. He is the co-founder and the chairman of 10 by 10 Philanthropy. It's a not-for-profit movement focused on empowering the next generation of giving. 10 by 10, since launching here in Sydney in 2013, has supported in that time over 115 grassroots charities and social entrepreneurs, attracted over 6,000 young professionals to donate at its events, and distributed over $1.25 million to various charities. They have become part of the collective giving landscape here in Australia, as well as the UK, Hong Kong, Canada, and recently in the United States. Laurence has been a keynote speaker at the Nexus Global Youth Summit at the UN in New York. He sits on the fundraising executive for the Jewish Communal Appeal. He has a career in funds management. He is currently a member of the Australian Industry Fund Impact Investing Group, seeking ways to foster greater impact investment from the institutional sector in Australia. Outside of work, he is a big soccer fan, follows Tottenham Hotspurs, lives, breathes, sleeps, loves his soccer. Totally passionate about it. I didn't realise how obsessed with soccer he was until the morning tea break, when I went up to meet him and I walked up to him and I tapped him really gently on the shoulder, at which point he fell down on the floor, writhing around in absolute agony, milking it for the foul. He's also a keen triathlete. He's done 3 half marathons. He's a cyclist. He's a Swans fan. He watches Coen Brothers movies any opportunity he gets. And his claim to fame, this is not fake news, is that this man here is the third cousin to Monica Lewinsky. Ladies and gentlemen, we have... That is true. We have A-list celebrities with us. If you're wondering, oh brother, where art thou? He is here. Please welcome Laurence Marshbaum.
Thank you. So, when I was living in London in my mid-20s, I found myself one day in the back of a meeting room listening to James Bond ask for my money. Yes, James Bond was asking for my hard-earned pounds in the oak-panelled boardroom of the oldest private bank in the world, Coop's Private Bank. And as hands up went around the room, pledging multiples of thousands of pounds to the organisation that Daniel Craig was associated with, I realised I had 2 problems. The first, I only had a few hundred quid in my bank account. And the second was I had no idea where the money I was about to give was going to go, what difference it would make, what impact it would have. A few years later, I arrived back in Sydney, having worked in London through the period of the global financial crisis, and was facing a bit of an existential crisis about what I wanted to do with my career and my life. But the one thing I knew I wanted to do was find a way to give back to our local community and the broader community. And I got together with 2 incredible like-minded friends called Nina and Jenny, and we decided that we would try and solve 2 problems. The first problem we wanted to try and solve was that we saw in our generation a real desire to do good, to create change, be involved in philanthropy, give back, live lives of purpose and meaning. But we all struggle with the time, the knowledge, and the infrastructure to do so in a way that's meaningful to us and it makes a difference. And the second problem we wanted to try and solve was that in our local community, in the broader community, we saw so many incredible grassroots organisations. You've heard from some of them today. These are the people that are creating real change in our communities from the grassroots up. And they all struggle with the same problem. They lack the fundraising capability, the resources and the know-how to tell people about the amazing work that they do and to raise the funds that are crucial to sustain their ongoing impact. So we decided to create a movement. Our concept, simple. We would get 10 people to come together, invite 10 friends, each pledging a minimum of $100, so 10 by 10 by 100, that's $10,000. We'd go out into the community and we'd get that money match funded by corporates and sponsors to generally get $20,000. And it would empower this committee, 10 people, to go out into the community and to identify 3 grassroots organisations that are coming up with innovative solutions to complex social problems. And we'd ask those organisations to come to an event, an evening, much like today, where they would pitch for 5 minutes. There'd be 5 minutes of questions from a dragon, who's a well-known person in the business and philanthropic community, or Ded Excel, who you heard from earlier today, has actually been a dragon at one of our events. She asked these organisations 5 minutes of questions about their model. And then there's 5 minutes of questions from the audience. When anyone arrives, we give them their $100 back in the way of 2 $50 charity vouchers. And after they hear the pitches, the audience decide where they want to give their money. They control their own impact. And we do 2 other things that ensure 10 by 10 has increased its scale and its impact. We ask all the organisations what help they need in non-financial ways. And we try and match the need of those organisations with the skills in the room. Young professionals, millennials, have a range of diverse skill sets. So how can we help these organisations in non-financial ways? And then at the end of every 10 by 10 event, we ask 10 people from the audience to put their hands up to be part of the next organising committee for the next 10 by 10, ensuring that we're never pulling on the same pool of people, we're always growing and scaling. We're going to do 2 events here a year in Sydney, and that was going to be it. I was going to pat myself on the back, it was going to be my way of giving back, I was going to feel very good about myself, and that was going to be it. But the model took off. We had interest to take it to Melbourne, to Adelaide, to Brisbane, then overseas to Hong Kong where we launched it, and then to Canada, Vancouver, and then last week we had an event in London, and next week I'm going to New York to launch this thing over in New York City, born here in Sydney. And since we've started 10 by 10, we've run over 50 events, we've had 650 volunteers sit on our community, had over 6,000 individual donors, we've had 7,000 hours of volunteer time given. This is a completely volunteer-led movement. We've supported over 115 grassroots charities, and we've now donated over $1.3 million to charity. Thank you. But the real incredible stories, the real reason we do this, are for the people that we're helping. They're the true heroes in our community that go out every single day and create real change, real sustainable development. So I'm going to share a story about a brother and sister who you may have heard of from here in Sydney, who've supported a number of times. And this story's got a great ending, which just happened last week. So the brother and sister are called Laura and Jordan O'Reilly. They founded this incredible organisation called Fighting Chance. And Laura and Jordan are probably like many of the people in this room, highly educated. Laura went to law school. Jordan was an OT, studied occupational therapy. But their life was heavily influenced and impacted by their younger brother, Shane. Shane had disability, cerebral palsy. And the one thing that frustrated Laura and Jordan their whole lives was why Shane didn't have access to the same opportunities they had in their life just because of his disability. They struggled with this their whole lives. They couldn't understand it. We're talking today about inequality. This is true inequality. And then, tragically, Shane died around the time that Jordan was graduating from university. And they decided to found an organisation in his legacy that would put disabled people into meaningful work. Because the one thing that they saw their whole life, when they came home from work every day, is that Shane wanted just to have the same opportunities that they had, to have a job to go to every day, to have purpose in his life. And there was no way for him to do that. So they run this amazing organisation, which is based down in French's Forest, here in Sydney, where they have 250 young disabled people right across the disability spectrum come in every day and perform meaningful work in social enterprises they've created. They run a gifting website, and all these kids come to work every day to help administer the roles to run this website. And it was very smart because they take the money that the NDIS payments, National Disability Insurance payments that the government make, and instead of having carers come to people's houses to play puzzles with kids, they have them work in this enterprise, helping them administer a job, giving them a sense of purpose. So we found out about what these guys are doing. We thought, these guys are the true heroes in the community. Let's get them to a 10 by 10 event. So actually, at our third ever 10 by 10 event, we supported Fighting Chance and Laura and Jordan, and they raised $10,000. Laura pitched that night, and she was in tears afterwards because for her, it wasn't just the money, but it was the affirmation of the choices she'd made in her life and the work that she did. 2 years later, we had Jordan back to pitch. They raised another $15,000 at a 10 by 10 event to what a new initiative they'd founded called Jigsaw. And just last week, the coolest thing happened. So 10 by 10's around 52 events. We're out there in the community, we're talking to people. And I was recently contacted by a family foundation that had just been endowed. They were asking about ways to get closer to grassroots giving. They saw 10 by 10 as a model on the forefront of that. So they came to one of our events, and then I had a coffee with the gentleman who founded this foundation afterwards, a few days later. I sat there and I told him the story of Laura and Jordan and their brother Shane, just like I've told you today. And as I was telling the story, I could see this man, been very successful in his business career, with a number of high-profile firms and worked in investment banking, a whole range of industries. He was welling up. I could see tears in his eyes as I was talking to him. And when I finished telling him the story, he told me, he said, that was an incredibly moving speech because I actually have a sister who has disability and my family have been trying to deal with this problem our whole lives. In fact, we had to buy her a job in Adelaide at the Red Cross, and then when she had a building she could work in, we had to custom build her a building that she could work in. And I said, well, these guys Fighting Chance are just here down the road and they're solving this problem at scale. We set up a meeting. Alison, our CEO, who's here today, she went down and took the guys down to meet Fighting Chance. And the 10 by 10 community rallied around the guys at Fighting Chance and helped them put a proposal for funding for funding for this foundation. And just last week, I got a phone call. It was 2 o'clock. I won't forget it. I was on the way to a meeting and my phone rang. It was Laura. I answered it and she was in tears. She said, Laurie, I can't thank you enough. I've just got off the phone to the foundation. They've made us a $1.8 million grant to allow us to sustain the work that we do. We can now launch these centres, 12 of them, right across New South Wales, create a footprint for changing people's lives with disability. And it's the affirmation of 7 years' hard work that we've been able to do. And whether, guys, it's Laura and Shane O'Reilly at Fighting Chance, or whether it's Nick and Luke from Orange Sky Laundry, who you're going to hear from later today, who are washing and drying the clothes of the homeless, whether it's Tim Silwood from Take 3 from the Sea, who's changing our relationship with the environment by the way in which we use plastic, or Bernie Shakeshaft from Backtrack Kids, who out in Albury Wodonga is putting kids into real meaningful work in a town that's overrun with unemployment, or Steph Costello down in Melbourne from Project Futures, who's dealing with the issue of human trafficking that exists in Australia in 2018. These are all the heroes that are at work at our community, creating change from the grassroots up. They picked the one thing, the one place that where they know they can make a difference, and they've gone and done that. And that's what we at 10 by 10 are trying to do too. We've just found the one place where we know we can create meaningful change and sustainable development, and we're doing that. You see, the thing is, guys, it only starts with 10. With just 10 people, we started all of this. And now I'm here in front of you at the Social Good Summit. And last year I was at the United Nations in New York talking about our model. We all, every single person in this room and watching on TV, has the incredible capability to meaningfully change the course of our own communities, our generation, and our world. That is the power of 1. That is the power of 10. That is the power of purpose. Thank you.